Hey everybody, Dean Cottrill here, Senior Vice President for T3 I oversee the brokerage consulting division. We're very excited. I have with me Jack Miller. He's president of T3. And we also we're very excited to have Dava Davin here. Dava runs the Portside Real Estate Group, company up in Portland, Maine. And she is what I term a rock star in the brokerage world and what she's been able to accomplish. We've had the pleasure of working with Dava over the last couple of years. She went in through our fellows program and into our alumni program, and we continue to work off and on with her to support her as she continues to set incredible new marks in the industry. Just some insight on that. She just last year closed out $430 million in closed business. Dava started off as I'll let you talk in a second, Dave. I want to give you accolades because I know you probably won't say any of this. But Dava started off a team. She was a very successful team. People loved her. Her personality is magnetic. And so they started joining her brokerage. And then she gets into the point of, all right, let me acquire this company. And so she does an acquisition, grows even more. She then decides to move out of the day-to-day sales, and she transitions out of sales from her team into running her organization. And it's up to 5 locations, close to 100 agents. And as I said, $430 million, which puts her in the top 1,000 brokers in the United States. And there are over 85,000 brokers in the whole country. So she is in the top of the top.
Yeah, I just looked it up. David, you're 726.
Okay.
So that's where you landed for last year. Based on what you shared in the pre-call, it sounds like you may be moving up. So that's great.
So Dava, welcome. If you can just welcome, and if you could just share a little bit with everybody, just a little bit about your background, and then not so much even like you've been in Portland, Maine your whole life, a little background person on a personal level, and then we'll move into the business conversation.
Awesome. Well, first of all, thank you so much, Dean and Jack, for thinking of me and inviting me to be here. I have to say that Portside would not be the company that it is today without you both. So thank you for being such an integral part of our company and of our success. We opened Portside in 2012. So I don't think we're new anymore, making our mark here in Maine. I am the sole owner, and as Dean said, started out as an agent, as I think many broker owners do, and sort of switched gears, without really knowing why until I entered this program. And, that first day you get that strategic intent worksheet and you really look at why are you here and where do you want to go? We can get into that a little bit more, but prior to that, I worked in the corporate world. And when we moved to Maine, to answer your question, we moved here in 2008. And in 2008, I got my sales agent license and was an assistant on a team. So went from an assistant on a team to 4 years later, opening a company, to 8 years later, being on the Mega 1000 list. So I sort of found what I was supposed to be doing.
Fast moves. Love it.
Gosh. So Dava, that's just awesome. So tell us a little bit about, you went through our fellows program, and that's something where we work with broker owners like you for 12 months in 10 key areas. It's foundational as we go. And one of the things that you mentioned was the strategic intent module, which is a great exercise. Let's dive into that a little bit, because most real estate entrepreneurs that are really successful that move into brokerage, it's funny, but don't think about the end state, where they want to take their business and what that end state looks like. So if you can get some some information on that to everybody, and what you went through and how that helped you get to where you are today.
Yeah, I think I absolutely agree. Like, I think we just, as realtors, we go. Oh, this is the next step. I'm going to do this. I'm going to try it. And then we're like, holy crap. Like, how do you actually run a business? And why, frankly, am I even doing it? And so I think having that sort of introspective time to be like, okay, this is what I'm trying to achieve. And this is what it's going to look like at the end. And then, creating those milestones to help you build those blocks, I think is just so critical. And it's such a simple thing, but you don't get, a training guide when you open a company. No one's like, here's how you do it. And this essentially is what that is, but allowing you to do it in your own way. My strategic intent looked completely different than my other, fellow colleagues in the program.
Yeah, yeah. And the strategic intent too, it's funny, we're all mostly visual learners. So when you create those visuals and you think about and you create that picture, it's easier for us to get somewhere when we know where we're going, or we at least think and put some time into thinking about where we're going, which is fantastic. Tell me also too, go ahead, Jack.
Well, and I was going to ask David, what did you determine that was the driver for your strategic intent? Because I think that's important for people to know, because I think it changed in the conversation we had with you, and I'm curious if you.
I think it did change, and I think it continues to change. I think when it first happened, I was like, to be independent, to be a game changer. And then when you work your tush off for years and years and years, it sort of shifts to, some financial security, right?
Yeah.
But I think, for me, really knowing like what my why is, and for me, I want to make the lives better of the agents that align with us. Like, I clearly want them to have a better life because they're part of this community and this culture. And in turn, as well, take care of our community through our nonprofit work. And I think by doing that, the money will follow. Like, truly following what you are called to do in this world, the rest of it takes care of yourself if you're willing to put the work in.
Yeah, but to that
makes
end,
sense.
yeah, complete sense. But to that end too, that strategic intent, doing some strategic thinking will help you along. I agree with you on being passionate, what you love and where you want to spend that time, and money will come. But also you took the time and energy to put out a plan and create that visual where you wanted to go.
100,000%. You can have all the passion in the world, but without the executable plan, you've got a lot of dreams, but not necessarily results.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit, I'd be interested, as we move through strategic intent and the other modules, we moved into recruiting, because that's always a hot topic for brokers, and adding agents to their companies, and productive agents, right? To their companies, the ones that are a really good fit. So tell me, I think that was another one you had shared that is something that was really impactful for you in your business. So you can share a little insight in the recruiting process and onboarding module.
Yeah, I mean, I remember so clearly being like, well, we're growing by the law of attraction. And you're like, okay, that's not a strategy. That's great. And so really learning how to be more strategic in every aspect of what we do, every piece of public marketing, every move we make has that underlying, how is this going to affect our recruiting? And I think, one of the simple things, one of the assignments was to pass in your offer letter. And I remember being like, holy crap, I don't have an offer letter. Like, I'm just like, hey, cool, you want to start on Tuesday? And so from that simple assignment was born a very intensive interviewing, recruiting, interviewing, onboarding process that I truly believe is second to none. Like, we have nailed this, how an agent is onboarded so well. Like, when I used to be an agent, I used to say, with every listing, I'm going to get 3 closings out of that listing. And now with every hire, I know I'm going to get 3 hires, because that process is so special, and they're so cared about. When those other agents will be like, hey, how's it going at Portside? They're like, oh my gosh, I've never felt this way at an agency. I've never felt so connected and so cared for and so dialed in and know what to expect. And by the time they walk in this door, they have their headshots, they have all of their marketing, they have their plan, they have all their training set up. I mean, it's seamless, and the communication that we do systematically, and from, the first interview to when they join, is amazing, I think. And so that's been started with just that one question of, what's your offer letter look like? And it just really made me realize, how lacking my process was.
Yeah. And that's going back to you being the rock star and us just wanting to learn and do better, because there are gaps in every business. And sometimes knowingly understanding you have a gap, but it's there. And frankly, you just don't have the time or money or energy to go into that gap at this point, and you're okay with it, but you do it knowingly. And understanding what the process is and gaps, and onboarding, as you expressed there very clearly and very passionate, which is awesome, is that's critical to bringing on more agents, because there is a 14-day window roughly where agents ask that question that you just said, how'd it go? How's it going? And that's where you have the ability to even pull more agents over, because they say it's been phenomenal.
And they deserve it too. So we're delighted to give them that experience and just, give them that boost.
Yeah, and help them out. One of the things too, recruiting being very in your growth trajectory for you, Dava, also you had an acquisition, at least one that I know of, a nice sizable organization, but tell me if you could just elaborate a little bit on the acquisition front and lessons that you learned, because some of the brokers out there don't, or maybe have a little hesitation, reservations on approaching other brokers. So how'd that work, and any lessons that you learned that you could provide to our watchers or listeners?
Sure. I've had the opportunity to onboard several teams, like large teams, which have changed our volume quite a bit. And then I was actually in the program when I had an opportunity to acquire a Remax office, and so grateful that I had your support, because it was a little tricky when you're acquiring a franchise, because they're way more powerful and they want to keep their brand and their market share.
Yeah.
And I was naive to that. So navigating through that, I think, as far as lessons learned, if there's folks listening that are thinking about this, I think the most important thing is making sure the values are aligned between the parent company and the company that's being acquired. The systems and the marketing, that can all be changed, but that culture and those values, you'd really just have to make sure that it's a fit. And I think being open to learning, like I learned so much from the company that I acquired, and had so much opportunity there. The owner of it had ran that company for 17 years. It was such a highly respected brand that now he went from being the designated broker for 17 agents to now almost 100. And, he's excited about excelling his career and being in a different role. And it all just worked out so nicely. We didn't have any agents leave. That was very important to me, to make sure that the staff and the agents, became part of us, and, and we're able to stay and not have to shake up their world. It's not fair to them because we're making a decision that would upset them. So highly recommend.
That's awesome. Tell me, you'd mentioned teams too, that some teams have rolled in. Have you acquired any teams, or are they just been roll-ins?
No, just been able to get them to come over.
Because that's definitely another strategy that we've talked about, and it's been really more on the forefront, where you can acquire teams as well. I've
used the teams though to open 2 more offices, because once I was able to get that #1 market share, it was just a lot easier to attract agents. So getting that anchor team and then growing from there.
Oh, that was a great point then. So as you expanded into other markets in your 5 locations, that was the strategy?
It was kind of the chicken or the egg. It was like, well, I don't want to get a location without the agents, and the agents without a location. So sort of bluffing a little bit, like, oh, I'm thinking of doing an office if you're thinking of coming. And
so tell me, that's awesome. And one of the big steps for you in your position, Dava, and for a lot of people that we work with and brokers out there, really dream of the day they grow their organizations up where they can start running them, where they're not in the day-to-day operations of it. So could you give everybody insight of your trajectory, of your path, and then you moving out of sales, and what's that been like in the end?
So in preparation for this call, I looked through some of my strategic intents, and I had a goal in there to step out of sales by December of 2023. I did it December of 2019. So, that goes back to what you said earlier. You've got to write those plans down. Yeah. And I think, for most people, if that's on their list of things that they want to do and they think that's the best place for them, it really comes down to confidence, right? If we're living in a place of abundance and we know that there's more that we can do versus scarcity, well, if I'm going to give up this money, you're not going to be able to get there. You really have to know that your place is to serve more people. So if I served 100 clients and 100 agents at the same time, like that was great. But now I'm serving 100 agents that are serving 100 clients, and that's like 10,000 people, so like just broadening that mindset. And like you always say, I do have a backup plan. I know I can always sell houses. So, we can always go back to that if needed. And so, it was, I think as realtors, it's so much of our identity, our career is also who we are. It's our brand. So that was just kind of weird. I was like, okay, am I still like, do I still have as much value out there to just be this sort of person behind the desk? But ultimately, such a great decision. I did basically sell the team. It was an earn out. So I was able to work that out. So it made a lot of sense. And I think mutually beneficial for my team, and now give them the opportunity to grow it their own way. But, they have a jumping off point. So yeah, and I think the other thing is, for selling for 11 years, just really using all of that knowledge and to be able to share it. How did I do this successfully, basically as a part-time job, and just being able to share those efficiencies and how I did things with everyone that I can.
Do you see yourself now in your role without having to be active in the sales as much as you were? Being in your new role where you oversee the operation, you have the ability to be much more focused and move your whole organization faster in a certain direction?
100%. I mean, get ready. This is like rocket fuel, really just having that mind space. Yeah, so very excited for the future.
Oh,
so one of the things, just it's been such a privilege to watch your growth, because I remember some of our first calls. I think where we started was, can you even make any money running a brokerage? Because I can't figure out how people like we were starting there, and you were still running your team and you're still very actively selling, but it was really a challenge. And what I've observed watching you grow and develop is that your ability to invest into your people and your marketing and your brand, because you were investing in that for yourself and for your team. And it was so good that it attracted other people who said, wow, that's really great over there. I'd like to be part of that. But then as you freed up your time to invest in, your brand, your agents, your systems, and your community, that it's been such a dynamic shift in that, and a broadening. And you use the word that I'm very fond of, which is abundance. And when it's like, you're creating abundance by that, being able to shift to that broader focus and helping more people. But it's been remarkable, because I remember it's like, there was a day and we were on a call and I was like, you've become a real estate CEO now. Like, you've actually, like, there's, you had a crossing over where you started, that's just who you were now. You were in sales before, and now you're over here now. You can always go back to sales, but you're here now. So it was very, very wonderful to watch it happen, by the way.
Yeah. And I think, for folks listening, I think we're all capable of it. There's nothing special about me. And I think that's why the story is kind of cool, right? Because you take this, sort of middle-aged person that doesn't have any, I'm not as smart as you, Jack, and I don't have the charisma that Dean has, but like, I can kind of show up every day. But the belief that I have, I just think we just limit ourselves. And we're kind of like, well, this is where I'm going to be. And it truly, like, that you already have everything inside you. If I could just let everyone know that, like, you can totally do this, or whatever it is that you want to do at 10x the level, and I'm still discovering that. And that's just very exciting.
That's awesome. So one of the things, I'll hit one more topic, just to everybody who's watching. If you have any question for Dava in the chat window, you can just type in a question if you want to post something to her. And Dava, the last thing I would love for us to talk about is philanthropic. I know is something near and dear to your heart, and doing that. And that's something also I think it's been part of the core values or pillars of your organization. So can you give some insight into that to everyone watching?
Yeah, so before I became a realtor, I actually was trying to get into the nonprofit world, but it was 2008 and I had trouble getting a job. So I became a realtor, and then that sort of emptiness kind of came back. So I wanted to add this component to our company. And briefly, sort of what we've done over the last 5 years is do an event series that are run by the agents that raise money and awareness for our nonprofit partners. And these are like big, happy events with a lot of people. And, they just really are incorporated really well into our company. And then, with the coronavirus, our first event was the third week in March, which obviously was canceled. So we've been pivoting. We've done some really fun virtual things. We had a virtual boot camp, which is bananas. We had like a radio personality run it. It was really fun. And so I've had time to really think, okay, now what? And, you're hearing this, I'm going to announce it to the company tomorrow, but we're going to be rolling out a program called 1% for Maine. And this was born, I was on a panel for corporate responsibility last year, and I kind of felt a little bit like an imposter because these companies are B Corps and they're just doing amazing, amazing things. And I'm like, I have got to step it up in this arena. And one of the companies was 1% for the planet. And I remember thinking, that's awesome, but I want to keep the money and the help right here in Maine. So we are launching 1% for Maine, which will be 1% of top line revenue that will be going to nonprofits here in Maine, essentially focusing on the next generation of Mainers. So Mainers helping Mainers, Maine's youth focusing on substance abuse, on limited access to education, food, and poverty, or I should say healthcare, and just sort of breaking that poverty cycle that we see. Maine's a very poor state. 60% of our children get their food from school. They don't have enough resources to get their food at home. So we have a lot of issues. Sorry, I'm getting on a soapbox here. But anyway, so we are launching 1% for Maine. The company is dedicated to do it, and I anticipate 100% participation from the agents in 2021. So we're going to add that with the events. So when we start saying that, you know, we're going to be selling probably 565 million, when you start looking at those gross commissions of 15, 20 million plus our events, we'll be easily able to generate, you know, $250,000 a year. So in 4 years, our hope is to give $1 million back to Maine's youth. So
that by itself is just incredible. And the other piece of this that most don't know, if you're not doing a lot of charity work and philanthropic work through your organizations, it's a good business generator as well. I mean, I hate to throw that out as part, because it's about giving back and being supportive, but there are connections that that happen with philanthropic work to people in the community that you won't have. It won't happen on a business level. It will only happen in the philanthropic charity space.
It really has opened a lot of doors for like-minded people. And our hope is really that other corporations do this as well. I mean, we have bigger corporations in Maine, much bigger than, you know, our real estate company, that we can just get everyone on board with this and really, really make an impact.
Yeah, that's incredible, and I admire this initiative. It's something else. I'm going to discuss it with Stefan because I think it's very. I like the scope, and it's great marketing too. I mean, that's the other thing that I think you've done so well about is your marketing. And 1% for Maine. I mean, that's got a ring to it. I love it.
Picture those on the sign riders, you know. And
Yeah.
I think for, you know, if you're sitting in front of a client that wants to list their house and they have these same feelings about our community, and one agent is doing 1% for Maine and one isn't, I think it's an easy decision that someone can feel really good about aligning with the company that has the same values that they do.
Yeah, it's a values match for many, many people. So, so that's amazing. So great work.
David, I tell you, such a pleasure to work with and just be around. So thank you so much. Anything you'd like to say in closing out before we move into, we have a real recap we want to do for those watching, but anything you'd like to say before we go ahead and move into and talk a little bit about the Fellows Program?
I wanted to thank you both again. I actually have, I don't know if you know this, but I have a running list of things that Dean has said to me over the years that sometimes I refer to when I am just like, OMG, like this is so hard. So these are some of the comments. And I wrote them in the first person. So these are my affirmations, but they came from Dean. Yeah. I am a magnet. I have drive. I attract positive people. I need to step out of sales. Did that one. I'm a leader, and I need to have more revenue buckets.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. And, you know, as for, gosh, we could spend so much more time talking about wealth strategies. You've just done everything so well, and I'm just so happy for you. So congratulations on all your success. And it's very easy for me, and I'm sure everybody watching this, to see how and why you're so successful. You're just a wonderful human being. So thank you so much for coming out and sharing your story with everybody.
Cool. So I'll pick it up from here. If you are dialing in for the first time, you know, what we've been doing over the last year or so is interviewing some of our clients that have gone through a broker development and team development program that we started, 6 years ago, called T3 Fellows. We're now in the 10th class of this program. And what we're looking for in this program is we're not trying to get everybody in it. We're really looking for people that they want to take on the challenge of making big changes in their business. Maybe you've got a company and you want to reboot it, you want to do something different, or you've got something small and you want to grow something larger or more meaningful or bigger impact. And that's what this program's for. And we put together a class of, usually 5 to 10 brokers or team leaders, and we work with them for a year. We have specific structure that we take people through. Like David said earlier, there isn't, you get your broker's license or you decide to go into business and there's not really an operating manual or a step-by-step. Well, we have the step-by-step and we provide it and we work with you through it. And it's tailored to your business. I mean, one of the things I've enjoyed in working with all of the different entrepreneurs like Dava is that everybody has something that they're really great at and everybody has areas that they want to improve. And we focus on helping people find their strengths and really utilize those to grow and develop their business. And in Dava's case, it's her marketing, her personality, her passion. Those are the elements that have really driven her business. So we do have a new program class launching. We do this twice a year. We enroll a group. We've got a good group started. And we're looking for anybody else that wants to be part of this group. There are a few things I'll tell you about the program. I'm going to flip on my screen for just a second, just because it's easier to put it up on a slide. So it is a 1-year program. We do one-on-one consulting with everybody that goes through the program to help them and to take the curriculum and the material and apply it into your business. Because it's going to show up differently for everybody. We know everybody has some need for some one-on-one. We do a lot of one-on-one work in understanding your business and helping you plan your strategy and your strategic intent, where you're going to go. We meet twice a year. We've been doing them in person, but during time of COVID, we've moved them to digital retreats. And that's where you're going to network and meet with other brokers and team leaders that are in the program and really build that community of people. One of the things I will say is that in building your business, high context thinking is hard to come by and by high context, I mean, any of us could go on Facebook and ask for business advice, but the people responding don't know you. And part of this program is to build that community of like-minded entrepreneurs who get to know you, who get to know your business and your market, so they can give you that high context feedback. And we do it too. I mean, Dean does it. Our team as consultants, we do that with you. We really learn about your business so we can give you better thinking that's really tailored to where you are. So we do have a lot of information about the program on t3fellows.com. And there's an application form there as well. All the program participants are via application. We are looking for people that have some staff, that you're committed for growth, that you want to get there, and that have stable sales and revenue. Some people come to us and they're a little smaller, or maybe they're still focused on sales. And we recommend, if you need sales coaching, there's great people for that. We're focused on business consulting and business coaching to help you get to the next level in business. Sales is obviously very important. Of course, we do touch on it quite a bit, but if your revenue is not stable, then we don't want you to get in a situation where you're in a program you can't fully utilize. So if you've been listening and been coming to these calls, I see we've got a few regulars here. We usually do. We have some people that come back and back. Go ahead and apply. Go ahead and fill out a form. Go to t3fellows.com. There's an application button there. Fill it out. It'll let us get to know you. We'll review your application and give you our recommendations, whether it's in our program or in something else. And if it is in our program, then we'll talk to you about how you can get started. The program is an annual commitment. It's $25,000 for the year, but it's paid monthly. And if for some reason during the course of the program things are not working for you, we have an out clause, because we're not trying to get people in the program who aren't able to be successful with it. So if you're not able to be successful with it, we can release you from the contract, and it's mutual. There are some people, it's like, hey, this program's not working. So that's how that works. And I'd encourage you, if you've been coming to these calls for a while and listening to some of our clients talk about their experiences, fill out an application. Let us get to know your business a little bit, and we'll tell you straight. If we think we can help you, we will. So that's it. That's it for the sales pitch and the explanation. Dean, you had something else you wanted to add?
Yeah, there's a question for Dava that's someone posed. I want to ask her that real quick so we can do that. But I just one real quick question to you, Dava, before we dive into the question that was asked. What would you say? You think it's a good ROI? Was the Fellows program a good ROI for your return on investment?
Yeah, I mean, 100,000%. If you can't, you've got to invest in yourself to grow. And I think I just wanted to highlight the retreats. Like, these aren't your regular real estate conferences. I mean, you're building lifelong relationships. I now have a team of people in other markets that I literally reach out to, and they get back to me, send a form to me, share what they're doing. Like, I don't have to reinvent the wheel. I just reach out and be like, I'm working on this. Can you send me, can you hop on a call? And that's just truly invaluable. I also took up every time to take a bunch of notes. And sometimes I have to go back and revisit those notes just to be in that inspired space, because you leave the retreat and you're full of I'm going to conquer the world. And we do a really good job of chunking that out into to 3 things that you're going to implement. But going back to those notes sort of re-inspires me. And it's really great. So I can't say enough about the retreats. That in itself is worth the money.
Great. David,
Awesome.
Thank you. So a question was posed. They asked, someone asked, what is your market share and then goals for your company growth going forward?
Our market share is about 10 to 20%, depending on which market that we're in. So very strong. And that's sort of what we want to do. We want to be a bigger player in each market. And then our growth is, we are growing about 30% a year, which I think for us feels really sustainable and really good.
Yeah. And that's to you continue to grow through recruiting, acquisitions, everything, you name it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we do, we have very little turnover. So, we're investing in our agents and they're staying. And so they're growing, their businesses, plus adding in agents. And, we're moving up and down the coast. So trying to spread a little bit, because we're so discerning with who we hire. We don't want to dilute what we have, in the core market.
Yep. David, awesome. So awesome. And I know you're going to conquer Maine and you're going to head into other states. Look out, New England. Yeah, it's awesome. Thank you so much. You're fantastic. And I really appreciate you taking time. Jack and I, on behalf of T360, thank you so much for sharing your insight and your background and knowledge with everybody. We greatly appreciate it.
Great. Thanks, Dava.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
We'll see everybody. Take care.